What if there is no ego? What if what we call the ego is actually just ourselves at a different vibrational point? And so if we think about ourselves in a vibrational quality, the energetic essence, and us kind of tuning ourselves into ourselves, sometimes we are right in that sweet spot where everything comes through really clearly. We are in resonance with ourselves fully, and it just feels like this purity to it, like if you're doing a sound bowl and you hit it just the right way so the tone comes out just perfect. I used to play the violin. There were times when you would hit the string and it would just kind of like your bow was just a little bit off, and so it would come through a little bit squeaky or a little bit subdued. But there were other times when you would just strike it just perfectly, like not really strike it. You can tell I haven't played in a while. But you would run your bow just the right way, and it would come through, and this pure note would come through, and it was just beautiful and whole and full. And so I think that's what Loving Light was getting at when it comes to the idea of what if there is no ego, but simply us and our vibration and the quality of the vibrational point that we're coming through to ourselves. The beauty of this is if we don't see ourselves as having an ego that is separate from ourselves, it allows us to just be with ourselves. We don't have to try to figure out, well, was that an ego thought or was that really me? Because we're saying, well, it's all you. It's just you from different vibrational points. How is your bow going across the strings? Is it really hitting it just in the way where it feels full and rich and alive? Or is there a little bit of squeak to it? And that's our opportunity. And so I wanted to share that with you all. And that's really the key message here. So if you want to stop now, you'll get everything that this video covers. But I also want to channel Loving Light so that Loving Light can expand on this a little more. So that's where we're going to go next. Here we go. I always get a little nervous. I'm like, oh God, what's Loving Light going to say? Because I often come to Loving Light with a specific question, and then she'll answer the question sometimes. Sometimes she'll go off in this, like, I have no idea where she's headed. So anyways, here we go. We are here with you today, Loving Light, the soul essence, a vibrational quality of Lisa and of all of us, fractals within fractals, all coming together to connect and to take the 3D into the love, into the light, into this 5D reality. And today we are here to speak with you about the ego, as Lisa has primed and shared what we told her and what we were sharing and offering to her just the other day. Let us allow ourselves to no longer attach to the concept of an ego. For while there was a period when it was helpful to talk about the ego, when it was helpful to differentiate that aspect, because it's like slowing down the video, slowing down the stream, and magnifying this one vibrational quality, the ego, in order to understand what doesn't feel fully aligned, what is coming from scarcity. We've talked to Lisa about the ego before, and we've talked about it as being in denial. The ego is, from a cognitive standpoint, the denial of the shadow. And the shadow being a denial in itself, a shadow being the part of the self that conditioning has told us we're not okay to have or feel or be. And so the ego comes in protection of those parts of ourselves that we have denied. And whenever it seems that we're about to tread into an area that doesn't feel safe to share, or that feels it could wound the inner child, the ego comes into play. And so in the past, it's been helpful to talk about the ego as this separate thing, because it helped us to understand the layered fractal nature of the very self. For we say that we are all all that is, and fractals of the same whole, but you and yourself are also fractals upon fractals upon fractals. And the ego is simply another fractal within this, another dimensionality of your soul essence. And it's important to note it in this way as opposed to saying it is not you. Because when you say it is not you, you deny the denial. We say you deny the denial because we said the ego is in denial of the shadow, which is the parts of ourselves we won't let ourselves display. For conditioning has told us it's not okay. But when you deny the ego, which is the denial, you deny the denial, you're unable to get back in touch with the wholeness of who you are. And we are working with Lisa, and even on her bathroom mirror, she has pinned a phrase, I approve of myself. And every morning she sees it. She was joking with her brother. She was talking with him just the other day about therapy and some of the work she's doing on herself. And she made this joke that, oh yes, on my bathroom mirror, I have the phrase, I approve of myself. And while I don't fully embody it yet, I'm considering it. She thought she was being quite funny. And it is hilarious in the sense of that is how she feels on that human level where, yeah, she'll consider it. She'll put it under advisement, but she hasn't fully embraced the concept yet. She's been resistant to it. She doesn't trust it. And a lot of that comes from the denial of the self, the ego. The denial of the parts of her that she's told herself aren't okay to have, to be, to feel. The anger that she's swallowed. The persistence that is her that she's often been holding back on for fear of how it will come across, for fear of others rejecting her, for being too much, too strong, too opinionated. And so her ego, beautiful aspect of her soul, she has said, oh, that's just an ego thought, when she has a thought that she does not like. And when she does this, she denies her ability to heal. She denies her ability to see the integration of all that she is. She denies a part of the fractal, and the fractals then stay fragments. But we are in a time and place of transition, of the great awakening, of the great directionality back into the 5D. As the seas, tides come and go, we are in a new wave, a new transitional point as a collective. And in order to do that, we need to stop separating ourselves from ourselves and embrace the wholeness of who we are. So with that phrase on Lisa's bathroom mirror, I approve of myself. Part of that myself is the fractal of the ego. The ego is the self. It's the part that needs some love. It's the part that needs some tenderness. This is not a coddling. This doesn't mean that you do whatever the thoughts that you deem are egoic thoughts say to do or be, but it does mean that we bring ourselves, back into our whole. And so for those of you listening to this, what we would offer to you in terms of a practice is when you notice a thought that you do not like, don't feel like you have to own the thought. For while we are saying that your ego is just a fractal essence of who you are, you and yourself are not the thought. You and yourself are all of it and none of it individually at the same time. And so when you think a thought that you do not agree with, or you think a thought you are ashamed of, we invite for you to examine this thought. Not to try to understand why you thought it, not to judge yourself for having the thought, but to say, does this feel in vibrational union with who I am now? For thoughts are often memories. Thoughts are often things we pull from the collective consciousness around us in order to understand what's going on. It's a translation of the energies. The human body uses cognition to translate the energies around us, and that translation becomes a thought. But sometimes our translations are picking up on old ways of being, old 3D, old force, effortful ways of showing up in this world. And we're so used to translating in that way that we forget that we've had a software update. We forget that we don't need to talk in that way to ourselves anymore. And so we remind ourselves that that thought is simply a translation of a different vibrational capacity than we're after, or said another way. Let's retranslate that thought from the viewpoint of always approving of ourselves, from the viewpoint of love. And so you can take the same thought, like, we're going to use an example, though Lisa doesn't want to, because it'll show where her mind goes often. But Lisa's very judgy of her wrinkles. She is 35 and she's starting to notice them more as they come in, and she even almost found a gray hair. And so she sees the wrinkles, or she sees the stretch marks from having her beautiful baby, or she sees the veins on her legs, or she sees the dimples of, we can't even grasp the word because we are not in that vibrational quality. The cottage cheese essence, where your leg, those of you who know this know what we mean, your thighs, they get like cottage cheese appearance. They're not smooth like maybe they were in your 20s or in your teens even. They start to feel maybe cottage cheese like, where they're kind of rough or dimply. It's like a bunch of dimples on your legs. And so Lisa notices this and she doesn't like it. She wants it to be smooth, airbrushed. And so she'll hear a thought like, oh, my legs look disgusting. And it is even hard for us to say that thought because we feel the pain in her body as she says it. We feel the hurt. And what that hurt is it's the denial of part of the self. And the only reason those dimples are seen in a lack mentality is because that is how we've been conditioned to view them. And that is her thought in denial of herself, of where she is. And so if you take that thought, ew, my legs look disgusting, that is a lack mentality. And we ask, okay, that translation is no longer serving. That translation is of the old. That translation is of the 3D. Let's retranslate that energetic quality in a way that is aligned to the love and the light and the approval of ourselves, for that is who we really are. And so if we do that, what we come to is, ooh, these legs that have got some character. These legs have been places. These legs have seen things. These legs have lived. And every single dimple is a representation, is a point of memory, is an opportunity to love on ourselves. For every dimple, just like it dimples from when you smile, it's like the thighs smiling back at us for the life that we've lived, for the beauty that we've created. And so when Lisa next hears, ooh, these legs look disgusting, she knows that that is a translation that no longer serves. And she knows coming from the place of self-approval, for she is love and light and divinity in itself. She can know that her legs have got some character. And we say that with love. We say that with spunk. And we say that with a little bit of spice that Lisa enjoys. She likes to bring a little sass to her life. And so this is a new translation. It's not denying the old thought. It's taking the same energetic quality, though, and viewing it from a new lens, the lens of love, the lens of light. And so we bring this all up and circling back to the conversation about the ego to say there's no ego that is separate from the self. The ego is just a mistranslation, or said another way, a translation in a way that we are now evolving beyond as a species. And those of you listening to this message are ready to hear this. So we can stop denying the ego and instead hear the thoughts that we believe or have labeled as egoic and retranslate them. This is not a denial. This is seeing ourselves for who we really are. This is honoring the growth that we've had. This is helping ourselves to view ourselves in the truth of who we are. It is bringing the fractaled essence at a higher level within that fractal, at a macro scale, for we are in that stage of coming back together, of integration and reintegration. And so, my loves, that is why we shared that there is no ego. There is simply ourselves coming at ourselves from a different vibrational point. And we get to retranslate the thoughts that we think that we've called the ego, because those thoughts are simply our human selves translating the energies around us. We get to translate them from love and light and self-approval. Thank you. Thank you. We love you. We wish you love. We wish you light. And that completes our message for today.